They have no business winning the World Series this year. Everybody has excuses lined up for themselves. I had excuses lined up for everyone that had questions for me based on how this team was going. I was like, well, they've dealt with so much, They have no business getting rings, and they're all getting rings. It must feel so unbelievable in that clubhouse after what they've been through.
It's got to feel better than if you had a team that has the biggest payroll, that has the most talent, that is expected to do it. Then you're almost relieved when you do it. You're like, oh, it's great. But it's like this team, nobody expected it. And they just kept defying the skeptics at every step along the way. They get hot. I mean, they didn't go over 500 until middle of August. Not one day over 500. I mean, and here they are. But people that said they won 88 games are totally missing the point that this wasn't the same team after the trade deadline. This was a team right there playing with the Dodgers and Giants. One loss records,
everybody's ass,
and they went into the postseason as the hottest team and stayed the hottest team.
Yeah, same as the Nats. Nats in 19, and I kept saying that, and it was just, the unmeasurables that people sort of just. They don't laugh at that. I mean, they know that they're real. Like the things like chemistry and things like a little bit of love, like all those little sayings that everyone just picks up on and just thinks, it's just a t-shirt. It's not just a t-shirt. Like when you're in it and you feel it, it's different. And I've been on teams where it just hasn't been there. And it's just, you just know that you're not going to do anything because it's just that, it's all on the surface. It's all lip service. It's all bullshit. Whereas this is actually feels real.
Yeah, I read a quote from Soler talking about our last podcast. Soler was asked the difference between the Cubs who won. He was on that Cubs team that won it, and this team. And he said, the Cubs had, a good clubhouse and all this, but that this team was a different level, and that this team got all the guys were together more and pulled for each other more. He said the chemistry was better on this team, and that Cubs team was known for its great chemistry. And Hayward's pep talk and all that. And he said that was the biggest difference between this team and that team is the chemistry and how everybody got along. I mean, he comes over and he's an introvert. He called himself an introvert. He comes over from Kansas City and said that when he came over, he would have been a guy that would have been uncomfortable talking to people and all that kind of thing. But that he had Guillermo Heredia, another Cuban, that introduced him to everybody right away in that Heredia way, who's a total extrovert. And that immediately from day one, he felt comfortable. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have felt comfortable the whole season. You know how that goes. You'd spent 2 months with a team and never really felt like he was part of it.
Yeah. Can you imagine being 6'5", 250 pounds, hitting like that and being an introvert?
Oh
like
my
I'm
God.
just a bit shy. Like, no, I'd be like, look at me.
God, he crushed that ball last night.
Oh my goodness.
That was destroyed.
I was sitting next to Jason Stark and he called up the video from Albert Pujols' famous home run off Lidge that silenced the crowd at Minute Maid the same way that one did last night. Only Lidge was in the ninth inning when they thought they had it won. I think it was the ninth inning. Yeah. And he pulled up the video. The roof was closed when Pujols hit his. They were at the exact same spot. If he'd have hit it it would have hit the window just like Pujols did if the window would have been shut.
I was actually shocked at how loud the crowd noise was after that home run inside the stadium because there must have been a lot of Braves fans in there last night.
Tons of I posted a video from on the field afterwards. I was shocked. They filled the whole lower bowl, a section above the third base dugout, all the way back to the concourse and all the way down to where the field it started to curve. I mean, there must have been 5,000 Braves fans there. And they all stayed. So afterwards, you could not tell that you were in a visiting park. There were so many of them there cheering for the Braves from behind third base and doing the chop. I mean, it was insane.
You had to connect in New York, huh? That's why you couldn't get a flight.
Yeah. That's why it was sold out. I was shocked. I had no idea that many people would make that trip, not knowing they were even going, if the Braves would have clinched at home.
The stadium was pretty impressive. It was a pretty impressive turnout. It was, I think, the whole lower level, they were during the pitching changes, they were. Yeah, we did our show from the stadium. We did it from the Battery last night. So yeah, it was like initially when I got there, because I got there so early because I didn't want to have to deal with all the traffic and all the BS. But I got there so early that people were kind of worried because everybody's going inside the stadium and the atmosphere at the Battery wasn't, as cool. But as the game started and as people started to pile in and as we started to score and add on and there was still shutout, the people started to gather and gather and gather. And then by the end of it, it was just mayhem. It was mayhem.
Did they charge to get in there or anything?
Not the
$10.
Battery. No, they charged $10 to get into the stadium, and they had the vendors going, and it was,
Right.
yeah, it was awesome.
So what'd they have? Like, what'd you say? 10,000, 20,000?
I think they sold.
Packed.
They sold at least 10,000. I know that. They were allowing up to 20,000. I'm not sure how many they got to, but at the end of the night, it just seemed like there was just people everywhere.
So it felt like there was a game being played on the field.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. That's what it felt like. The atmosphere after with the game felt like we just played a game, and
Yeah.
everybody was behind us, and it was, oh man, it was. I mean, they've waited so long for this, Dave.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's a
Not just. I mean, you talk about Atlanta sports in general, right? And it's like, yeah, but it's just Braves country have dealt with 14 straight division titles and 1 World Series, and then the heartache of the last 15 years, and then to get it on a year that they weren't expected to get it must, like you said, feels different, feels so much better than the disappointment of not achieving it if you were expected to.
So because in those 14 years, I'd say probably at least half of them, people thought the Braves were the favorites or close to the favorites to go out, at least get to the World Series. And they went 5 World Series they went to in the 90s, 5, and they lost 4 of them. So there was always that feeling of they got the most talent. They have the 3 Hall of Fame pitchers. We had another Hall of Famers at the time, but you could have figured they were going to be. But they never win it. So this is a total different feeling. This is the team that was assembled on the fly after you lose your superstar. It would have been like one of those Braves teams in the 90s losing Chipper one year when he was the MVP. It would have been like losing Chipper at midseason and still winning the World Series. I mean, they lost Acuna the day before the All-Star break.
They lost Soler the day before the CS. They just they kept dealing with stuff all year long.
They lost till last night.
They lost Ozuna, who was a top 5 MVP last year. They lost him when.
And Soroka didn't even Soroka.
Forget about it. Yeah, people forget about Ozuna, what he did last year, how big he was on this team.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. I mean, it's a cliche, but I really have never seen a team overcome more adversity. I really had never have.